Oh, yeah. I believe it works. I would like to exile your Burst Lightning. Very nice. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing some Abzan Bounce, where we are using the brand new kind of version of Siege Rhino and Skirmish Rhino, which is everything Siege Rhino is, but one less in all categories that it could be. So for example, instead of 4 mana, it is 3, and is exactly Abzan instead of Abzan in 1. It also has trample. They both have trample, I believe. But when this creature enters, each opponent loses 2 life instead of 3, and we gain 2 instead of 3, and it is a 3/4 instead of a 4/5. So it is a very, like a very little smaller version of a Siege Rhino, which is quite funny that they did that. They're like, everybody loves Siege Rhino, let's just print them another one. But then we are also playing the Roadwatcher as also an Abzan in 1. It is a 3/3 when this creature enters. If you cast it, mill 4 cards. When you do, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. So oftentimes we're playing a Rhino, having it ping our opponent, gain us a little life, blocking, hopefully trading off of a creature. And then we are playing the Roadwatcher on the following turn, bringing back the Rhino, kind of establishing a stronger board. And if all that fails, we are going to be playing a Priest that works very well with our other plan. And that is, when this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, exile that card. When this creature leaves the battlefield, the owner makes an XX white spirit creature token, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. I believe I'll show it in the beginning, but if you don't understand what's happening, basically a cool thing you can do with this card as well is you can play it, target your opponent, and if your opponent removes it or you remove it with like maybe a Nowhere to Run or something like that, or a Sun Kirin, like you can play this and then you can bounce it with this. This will basically target your opponent's hand, and it will still exile a card and attempt to put it under the Priest. But if the Priest is no longer on the battlefield, that card gets exiled and they get nothing for it in return. So it's just a way to permanently exile a card from their hand, which is cool. There's a creature back in the day that we used to do that kind of trick with often. Other than that, we are using a very strong shell that has been kind of adopted as a standard all-star overall, and that is kind of the Esper Pixie stuff, but we're just an Orzhov here. No temporary lockdowns for ourselves. We're just kind of being more of a value deck and trying to get to kind of our top end kind of Abzan cards here. And that is playing a Pixie, the Kirin, for our bounce stuff. We have Hopeless Nightmare with Pixie is obviously very strong, and the momentum to go with that for discard. And then for our removal, we have 2 Grim Baubles and Nowhere to Runs, along with this Hex Mage to kind of get value with the other stuff as well. And also act as another hit for our Roadwatcher in case we don't necessarily find any of our good solid 3-drops. With that said, we're going to go ahead and dive into the games. If you all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. Truly helps out the channel a ton, and let's go game. All right, we're going to go first. Our hand's interesting. Like, interesting. Go right into a Hex Mage. Target our Hex Mage. It's always weird to play this because, like, you always end up targeting the same one, so it never, like, matters, you know? Hit, and then we'll get to play the Thicket and go for a Rhino. We really need to stop drawing lands. Keep drawing lands, probably just going to lose. Oh, thankfully, we stopped doing that. Temporary lockdowns obviously available. Maybe a Nowhere. I don't know what my opponent's on. Feels like Omniscience maybe, but oh, temp lockdown. Stock up, maybe going into a board wipe of some kind. Another Rhino would be awesome. A way to bounce this token would be super sick, because then we just get to hit them for 9. Then draw if it's the kind of Sun Petal Kirin. The Omniscience and they discard it. Yeah, that's tough. That is absolutely horrific. Hopefully we hit the right creature, or we don't hit it at all, I guess. Targeted the same creature. Most likely we're just dead here. If I could have interacted with our opponent, we'd be great, but unfortunately I don't think we're going to. Abuelo that thing, dude. Come on. Temporary lockdown. Okay, maybe don't Abuelo it. I was fully prepared for that. You have a bounce spell? Probably wouldn't bounce that one. Feels like the bad one to bounce. Okay, I would bounce, I think, the incorrect one. But I understand taking 3 and then taking 2, but this could find the answer. I mean, I guess it's both bad, right? This isn't big enough to remove this, so it doesn't really do anything. Double discard, sure. Now we want to take a look, try to find... This Nightmare is good, but it's not what we want, and then we'll reestablish this. We hit the right piece. Look. So... I mean, we just lose if that's the case, right? So if we have to take that, they have 1 draw. They no longer have a draw. And we get there. I felt like we were just dead. It was a really good play by them for stocking up, going to max hand size, and then just discarding this to hand size. But we go combat. We just swing for lethal. Always funny they pass their turn and then concede. Like, you can concede on your turn too, but it's all good. We move on. Not a bad hand. I mean, we really need to see like a creature deck with this hand, because without it, it feels pretty bad. But we can always take the alternate route and hand discard and discard. I believe, doesn't this card specifically work like the creature from before, where you would just get to exile it and then in response you could flicker it and then they would get no token back? So if this targeted our opponent, I could then, like, I target them, flicker this, target them, choose not to take, and then with the second target take something, and then it'll never be under there. I believe that's how that works. I could be wrong, but trying our best. So now what to do? I can go for a Momentum Breaker or hold a Nowhere to Run, but I think Momentum Breaker is the way, with 4 cards in their hand and most likely a Burn Spell looking up here. But once again, we're kind of at the point where hopefully we stop drawing lands. That'd be awesome. We're going to go into a Priest to get rid of a Hearth Elemental, although I feel like Hearth Elemental is pretty close here. Just a couple of spells and then you can cycle that, but there's a Corey Steel Cutter. Not really a way to remove that in our deck currently. They have no way to trigger this. That'd be awesome. Or did they just skip combat for no reason? Okay. I'd like to do this. We draw another land, unfortunately. I will probably be looking to sacrifice this next turn if our Nowhere to Run's not needed. Bounce this in response. That'd be sick. I really want that to work. What do they have? Blood Maw? I think we'll get our answer though if they do bounce it. That'd be super funny, but... Oh yeah, I believe it works. I would like to exile your Burst Lightning. Very nice. They got full punish for it. So sick. Thank you, opponent. I'm really glad we got to solve that together. I don't even know what their last card is, but I'm going to play this. I will take your Spell Pierce. Thank you. I will give you a 1/1 back if you remove this. I was pretty positive it worked like that, but unsure. I don't think you can cast that. Okay, opponent, listen, if you could draw any better. I'm dead. I keep drawing lands. But we've had just enough hand disruption and creature disruption that they weren't able to do anything, and they move on. But yeah, thankfully we now know if our opponent bounces it in response, it does work. What is the card? Sky Shroud Client? No, that's not it. That's the ramp spell. Sky... I'll never remember. It's 2 white and 1, and it's a 3/3, but whatever. Whatever. Well, this hand looks pretty promising. We'll keep. A lot of hand disruption in a hand like this. We'll fire off Hopeless Nightmare right now. No Maul from our opponent, so this is a little less impactful than it could be. Blood Maul is a blue-red again. Alright, well, we're going to be playing some Death Touchers. We'll get to play this Plains, which will turn on the Verge, but the Plains will also... I mean, I guess it has to turn on the Verge here. I would love to play this. I just can't. That's unfortunate of a draw, because now I got to play it tap next turn, which I guess isn't necessarily a big deal, and I don't necessarily have to play it tap next turn. And I think here... Man, all those cards are good. I feel like their plan is going to be to plot the second Slick Shot. I think we have to take this and just look to remove this later. And if their plan is just like stock up here, we can then priest them again. Now our priest can't necessarily do anything, but they're looking to chunk in now. If we find momentum breaker or nowhere to run, obviously we're going to feel pretty positive about our plan going forward. They do stock up, which I do agree with. I know it's way less damage here than your potential, what? So 1, 3, 9, and then maybe more. This helps you. Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, the land draws are just devastating over and over and over again. Just playing the same game on repeat. And there's 2 monstrous rages, which is pretty awful for us to deal with. Right now, we're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maybe more. And there's just not a whole lot I can do about it. I'm just slowly drawing lands and losing the game. Okay. I will block there. If that's what it comes down to. I will gladly trade off this Swiss Spear for them to acquire a 1/1. Especially because that means they invest their monster trade into a creature that is now no longer on the battlefield. But they should put it on their flyer here. Okay. At least I think they put it on their flyer. Because you don't miss out on any damage. Now, technically, sure, this trample's over, right? But if you put it on your flyer, they just make a 3/3 and they're fine. You know what I mean? But this seems like a situation where I have to, once again, look at their hand and play the Rhino next turn and just really hope they have nothing. Maybe, hopefully, it's just like a Corey Steelcutter. Yeah, Island, I'll take the opt. Then I'll just hold here. Just have to hope for them not to draw. This is why people play this deck. Because he's just got such good top decks. You only ever need 1 creature. I can't draw land, so I can't do anything about it. Please tell me you have another spell. They have another spell. It doesn't matter. This attack's just a formality at this point. Yep. I move on. They found another monster trade. So they found 3 monster trades too. Sure, I drew lands. They drew gas. It's just how it goes. It just sucks. Can't play the land because of my land. Fab. Flesh and blood. Blue black. Okay. Be a cut down here. Sure. Play land. Say go. Try to hit you for 1. Go. We're really wanting to bounce this token for a card draw here. Doesn't seem like they're going to give me that out. We'll play this and target it regardless. They can counter this if they want to. They know about this creature though. The village? Okay, so this is just hard control. I don't think it's the mid-range pile. Either remove it or don't. Okay. Yeah, it's the dragon removal pile. It'll be a little bit tough to kind of get through this match, I think. Go ahead. I don't really have a lot going on. Doomsday pile, if you would. They pay into this to make their spell uncounterable. I'd be mind blown. Ward, discard a card. Don't necessarily have to do that. Turn. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna attack. Where am I? Did I just answer this thing? I think I just answer it. Ain't paying that ward cost. Move it. This is a pretty overcommitment there, but I feel like we're not going to find a better answer for these right now. And just chipping away with this 2/1. It's kind of like what control matchups tended to be back in the day, where you would just start, you would flash in like a Brazen Borrower, and you would look to just like use that creature to just get more and more value as the game went on. Play a frontliner, or not frontliner, play a Roadwatcher. Now, I could, in theory, I could bring back the Rhino, but I think I'm going to bring back Hand Disruption. Or, I was looking for the board wipe, mainly, but unfortunately, we're not going to find it, and then I'll probably run it right here, and then just exile these or something. No, they just give up. Okay. Not even taking another draw is crazy to me. Okay, we get to go first, take cards from them, do it again, and then take actual cards from them. So I'm good. I'll keep. I'm in. I'm sold. Ready? Hopeless. Boros? Interesting card to get rid of, considering I just played an enchantment, but sure. White Source, Pixie. We're doing Pixie shenanigans, and my opponent is going to have the same 1 mana card casted against them on the following next couple of turns, because I played the wrong land. Oh, it's okay. Fine. Everything's fine. I'm not upset. You're upset. Sure. Okay. All right. I can settle for that. Hopeless. I'm gonna play the same one and not reveal one of our cards in hand as a Hopeless Nightmare. Also, like, fine to just do this, right? My opponent is now at 14. I have not touched them yet, so that's pretty cool. You have a Pixie of your own? No, you have a Liliana. Okay. Fine.
Something suspicious.
Lost on a discard. Okay.
You won't be outsmarting me.
Fine with that. Fine with that more than anything. So now I get to play this Priest, take their last cards they probably are holding. Yeah. Then I can hit this Liliana for 2. Then if they minus, I lose my Pixies, and so be it. But I'll hold this land just in case. I know I have good 4 drops, but the realistic capability of me drawing them is not high. But yep, we get paid off for holding that land. Maybe I'm supposed to get rid of the Hopeless Nightmare, because I guess they don't have a hand at this point. Not block, attack. Then, honestly...
Oh, that's my cue to leave.
Honestly, I think we just play this. We target the Pixie. And then I want to go full empty-handed, I believe. At this point of the game. This is like worst-case scenario. They draw another Liliana. And I'm holding the Hopeless, I guess. I mean, I guess that's not worst-case scenario, but... just fully committing makes my hand empty, so any cards like Duress and stuff are just dead draws. We're maximizing the dead draw possibility from our opponent. Once again, my opponent is going to get Hopeless Nightmared multiple times. Who's ready to sign up for the Hopeless Nightmare gaming experience? I sign you, Mr. Oculus player. Please don't put one in the graveyard against me. That would suck. I would lose the game instantaneously. So they didn't Oculus me the first time, so I feel like I'm pretty good to fire this off a second time. Kind of bully their hand while I can before an Oculus gets put in there for free. Alright. Alright. Cool. Kind of a hard matchup overall when it comes to that, because oftentimes, which I have done, there is a short out there of me going... like a turn 1 win because my opponent Oculus me, or they Hopeless Nightmare me, and then I played an Oculus in my graveyard and then brought it back out on turn 1 for my turn. But now we get to play a 3/4 Trampler, and they have a 1/1 in the way. If they play something valuable, we can obviously attack, or they'll put extra counters on this, maybe draw, maybe activate that map. Sure. Now we can attack, nowhere to run, kind of here. Alright, or we can interact with their hand, which would be nice. Let's see if they block. Block, that obviously makes sense to me. Do I want to interact with their hand or with this when they do play bounce spells? Do I want to know where to run here? I want to interact with their hand directly. The torch, so I'll take the torch. We're fine with that. Be dead draws. If they start activating the map, I think it's dead draws. They could play land and then do this and deal 3 damage to this to make a 1/1, I guess. Like, okay. Or they can do it that way. I feel like you could just play your land and then do that. You don't have to discard, I don't believe. Draw a card, then you may discard. Yeah, they could just use it as a draw effect. You still know where to run this, which is fine. They're going to play the Vantage, which is okay. That, I would say that doesn't count as a draw, I don't believe. All right, so we are 100% a land draw away from really crushing it out here. 3-4. Then I will pass. Could have taken their last card out of their hand, but it just doesn't really do me any good. I don't think it does me any good. Might be looking to do this now. Fear of missing out. Okay. Thankfully, we didn't take the last card away, because then they would discard nothing and just draw a card. Are we glacialing now? No, we can't, can we? Look to interact there. I cast nowhere to run. I absorb that. That is now mine. Trying. They're attacking as well. I think they're having second thoughts now, though. Definitely makes sense to me, but they attack. Sure. A land that enters tapped, unfortunately. We'd obviously love to get this down. Oh, man. We have to take one of these creatures away. As unfortunate as it is. And then I think I have to attack. 5. Can do this and then double attack. Ooh, nice draw. Don't discard. Just a play. No, it's a land. So they're gonna activate this eventually. Please. 3 attack, untap fear, attack. No attack. Alright. Alright, bet. Well, I think we can do some pretty cool stuff. These are sorcery speeds, so we're fine. We're gonna block. I would hope so. And then now we're gonna crush the game, maybe. Or they lose the game on the spot, and I will just show them. We'll pick this back up. Take 3. I think they were losing the game regardless. So if they double block, we play the Kieran, we pick up a nowhere to run, all at instant speed, we replay it. We hit the fear of missing out, making it a X1, and then they would lose both their creatures, take 1 damage, and then we'd be left with this board state that they would then have to beat, and I don't necessarily think they could, because say they bring back an Oculus, we get to moment them, and then maybe even just play this and then win that way. So very cool. We move on. A lot of lower to the ground stuff that we can play. A white source. I'm just gonna play a surveil land here. I mean, honestly, I'll bend that for now. I don't mind the card necessarily, and it's not necessarily a bad draw, but all right, let's put a Omniscience in the graveyard for our opponent. Well, temporary lockdown it is. Okay. Back up. Now it's just control, maybe? Like getting hit with a Hopeless Nightmare and being like, temporary lockdown is card I'm getting rid of seems weird to me, but okay. No, this is Omniscience. Okay, they just didn't have one. Sucks. Yeah, there it is. Alright. Well, the creature I probably should have for this matchup is now in my graveyard. And I rip another one because apparently we're allowed to luck sack this game. I'll play it. Isn't it crazy that if I took an Omniscience from them and they killed my priest, I would then give them an 8/8? Think about that. It's actually nuts. I had to read our card. Not read it before, maybe. Lockdown number 2 I don't actually care about. I actually care about this card that draws them a lot. I also could take the invasion and hope it's just a dead hand. Sucks overall. I'm definitely attacking. There's no reason not to. Everything is being paused is by his blast zone. But taking the invasion, because if they rip the Abuelo, they just win. Like I'm the best to ever do it, and I'm like, yep, yes sir, yes you are. That's Hopeless Nightmare. Barely even want to attack with this, but they have the mana, and I'm gonna attack with it before I do anything else. Move a land, move to combat. Because they bounce my priest, I can then like go back and take the stuff. A draw 3, discard a number of cards is going to be a little tough for us to handle. Although, I mean, at this point, I do get to kind of interact with them if they put it in Omniscience. They don't have a counterspell with this nowhere to run. Like, I could play Skirmishing Rhino, and it could be lethal, right? Like, I get close to lethal. I don't. And now there's a Pixie. That. Back for 5. Play a Pixie. So plus Nightmare. Have the nowhere to run mana still. Missions could be brought back as like a 3/3, which nowhere to run still answers. So another Regent, pretty good. So likely they're going to have the piece here. Could have a Abuelo. They're almost 20 cards deep, but if you've ever played the Omniscience deck or a combo deck like that, you are fully aware that it could be in your bottom 10 cards, all 4 copies. I've been there a time or two. Temporary Lockdown is obviously a card that could happen, but then they still die to the Priest that's on the battlefield. Bouncing the Priest could happen following a Temporary Lockdown, which then does give them a threat. We'll see. Spell Pierce is a card that they could have held on to. Would actually get us here with this nowhere to run. You can also pop a Blast Zone, I guess. That'd be grateful for. Then I'd get a Hopeless Nightmare Scry. They do that. Okay. Wait. Hopeless Nightmare Scries. Okay. None to those. And I think we're going to win with the Skirmish Rhino trigger, which is quite funny. Because we're going to attack here. They're going to bounce this. I think that's the only kind of logical decision that keeps them here, right? We attack, they play the card to bounce this, and then we play a Skirmishing Rhino. With that, we'll play a Skirmishing Rhino, and with only a Blast Zone available, they will lose. Very cool. We win against Omniscience combo in a very weird way, but we'll move on. Okay, so here we are. This is the pile that we settled on. I did have another variation that had a couple of one-ofs in it, but I did not like it. I felt like it made a lot of the deck a little inconsistent. Like, we didn't have enough nowhere to runs. We didn't really play a lot of momentum breakers. And there is just a lot of matchups like the Is It Prowess deck where if you can actually just kind of crush their hand with a Hopeless Nightmare and Pixie, and it does rely to some extent on them not drawing a stock up, this kind of hand disruption stuff can overwhelm your opponent and take them out of the game kind of indefinitely. And it does get a lot harder for them to crawl back in, but we're really wanting this card to hit either a Priest or a Skirmishing Rhino. So it doesn't really matter if we have a lot of other things underneath that board to kind of grab out of the deck. But oftentimes, if we do grab a Kieran and a Pixie, we can do all kind of that shenanigans as well. And I will say, going in, I do feel like the weakest card is the Hex Mage. I think this card and the Kieran kind of synergy and the Pixie synergy with this, it's like weird. I don't know. The meta's so fast that it always just feels like your Hex Mage is never going to make contact. So it has this kind of weird feeling to it where it feels like a really bad card, but maybe it's not, and I'm just kind of overreacting based on how the game has gone. But it's also a creature for our kind of Roadwatcher to hit, so at the same time, it's like hard to be like, no, maybe don't play it. But would maybe this being a Deep Cavern Bat be better? Maybe. I would kind of argue to some extent yes, because you can then disrupt your opponent's hand even further. If you take like a non-valuable card that doesn't really matter too much, you can always pick it up later with either a Pixie or a Kieran and then replay it and take a more important card from your opponent. That might matter in the long run. So with that said, I'm going to call it there. I hope you all enjoyed. This deck is fun to play. I don't necessarily think the competitiveness is super high, but it is also kind of affordable outside of your kind of lands. Obviously, lands and Arena are going to be your big chunk of rares regardless, but these are all rares, and I think that also kind of puts a damper on Spiteful Hexmage. I don't think at a rare level card, I think this card is nowhere close to that. I think, like, I don't know. Like Pixie, for example, is an uncommon. I feel like this could easily be an uncommon as well, but in draft, it's obviously a bit stronger, of course. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.